Hey guys, Dennis Jernigan here. I want to do something special right now. Just take a couple of minutes of time. I'm going to read an excerpt from my brand new book called The Puzzle. The Puzzle is book 3 in a series called The Bairns of Bren. Book 1 is called Hide and Seek, book 2 is called The Light Eater, and book 3 is called The Puzzle. And what I'm going to do is read a portion of chapter 1 from The Puzzle. My grandchildren are the heroes of these stories, and I love reading these stories. They make me feel young again. And I'll stop talking now and begin just an excerpt. This is from chapter 1 of The Puzzle. Chapter 1 is entitled The Puzzle. The land of Bren can be a dark and mysterious place, full of magic and hints of fairy dust. Yet it can be the most light-hearted, adventurous place a child could ever hope to explore, full of wondrous creatures and massively beautiful landscapes. There are forests to be walked through and mountains to be climbed. There are rivers to ford and swamps to be avoided or slogged through. And the best thing of all, every single day in the land of Bren is a day without boredom, because every day spent there is a journey meant to be enjoyed. Today was no different, except Ron would not be allowed to go into the magical forest of Bren because he was alone at his grandma's house. His siblings and cousins had all gone to school that day, while Ron had stayed home with an upset stomach. Just to be safe, his mom had asked if Ron's grandma could watch him at her home for a bit so she could run a few errands, and of course, Ron's grandma had said yes. While Grandma sewed in the sewing room, Ronald decided it would be fun to put together a new puzzle. Upstairs on the bookshelf where Grandma kept all the books and games and puzzles, he found the puzzle of the beautiful mountain he had put together before. He came across the puzzle of a beautiful white unicorn. He had put it together before too. Puzzle after puzzle, he realized he had put together every single one of them before. And just as he was about to try and think of something else to do to fill his time, he spied something far back in the corner of the shelf. There was one more box. He could have sworn the shelf was empty just a few moments before, but no. He could see the corner of one more box hiding way back in the far right corner. Straining to reach it, he finally got down on his belly and scooted his head into the shelf and was able to just get his fingertip on the corner of the box. Now he was getting excited. This box he had never seen before seemed to be taunting him. "Pull me out and put me together, Ron, if you can." Finally, able to scoot near enough to the box to get a good hold on it, he quickly pulled his hand away when he heard what he thought was a low, eerie growl. Crawling quickly from the shelf and standing upright, he looked around the hallway and saw nothing. Cautiously, he got back down onto his belly and scooted in to retrieve the puzzle. Stretching as far as he could reach, he once again touched the box with his fingertip and once again heard the box taunting him. "Is that as far as you can reach? Do you want to put me together or not?" This time he grabbed the top of the box with his finger and got his thumb beneath it. "I guess you can reach me after all. Still, the trick will be to see if you can piece me together." Just as Ron pulled the box from the dark recesses of the bottom shelf, the most eerie sound began somewhere in the hallway. It started as a low, mournful bellow and grew steadily louder and louder until it became like the high-pitched howl of a wolf calling its pack together for a hunt. Ronald quickly dropped the box, spilling all the contents onto the floor, and headed for the stairway. Just as he turned toward the stairs, he came face to face with the source of the howling, staring straight into the piercing eyes of a wolf. Too afraid to make a sound, even though he wanted to call out for help, and too afraid to even blink a single eyelid, Ron just stood there staring into those eyes. Of course, the rows of sharp teeth and the howling did nothing to calm Ron's fears. How could this be? How could he stay still? How could he get his grandma's attention? How could he stop trembling? How could the wolf howl so long without his grandma hearing that mournful, wailing cry? And then Ron stopped trembling when he realized the wolf was not baring his teeth in a snarl to bite him. This wolf was smiling at him. Still too afraid to say a word or risk a sudden movement, Ron suddenly began to gaze into the piercing eyes of the wolf that at first had seemed frightening and menacing, but now it appeared to be staring into his soul, appeared to be friendly, seemed to be kind. This caused Ron to finally release the breath he had been holding for so long and breathe out a sigh of relief. At least the wolf seemed friendly, but the howling, that long, mournful, sad-sounding scream, gave way to a voice, and the voice sounded more like a song than a howl. And the song the wolf seemed to be howling suddenly had words, and Ron could understand the howls of the wolf. With a lilt and joy, the wolf sang, "This way to freedom, this way to joy, this way to discovery for each girl and boy. Come to adventure, see life brand new. Join in the journey, life is for you." Awestruck and dumbfounded, Ron just stood there and listened as the wolf continued to sing the song. The more he listened, the less he feared. The more he listened, the less he wanted to cry out for help. By the time the wolf song ended, Ron felt braver and freer than he had ever felt before. "Who are you?" asked the boy. "My name is Axel," replied the huge creature. "I've been sent by the founders of Bren to show you where your road leads." His mouth wide open, Ron just stared at the wolf. The beast was at least 5 feet tall, his powerful body covered in the most luxurious coat of brown fur Ron had ever seen. "Your name is Axel?" asked Ron. "What does that mean, your name? My grandpa tells me that names have meanings and that having a good name is better than all the wealth and riches on earth." "Your grandfather speaks the truth of Bren. Having a good name is better than all the riches on earth. My name, Axel, means Father of Peace. I have been sent to help you piece together the puzzle of your life, to help you find peace in any situation or circumstance of life." "Are you ready, Ron?" asked Axel. "You're darn tootin' I'm ready," shouted Ron. "Where do we start?" "Well," replied the wolf, "I always find it best to start at the beginning. Let's put together your puzzle. Pick up the first piece and place the rest in this pouch." "Which piece is the first piece?" asked the confused boy. "Whichever one you happen to pick up first is the first piece. Life is like that, Ron. Your greatest strength will come in knowing how all the pieces of your life fit together, even when none of the pieces seem to fit together at all," replied Axel. Solemnly, Ron picked up a piece of the puzzle and put it in his pocket, and then placed the remaining pieces in the pouch that Axel had given him. Once he had the pieces in the pouch, he pulled the first piece from his pocket. "I can't tell you what it is or where it goes, but it is the first piece." "Where are we going to put it together?" "On the kitchen table," assumed Ron. Kneeling, Axel replied, "On my back, Ron. Let's go." That's just the beginning of Chapter 1. Chapter 1 tells the rest of Ron's entrance into the magical forest of Bren. And all his siblings and cousins eventually make their way into this most grand, amazing adventure called the puzzle. It teaches life lessons, has many moments of wisdom that me as a grandfather want to leave for my grandchildren and their children and their children. Get a copy of the puzzle, the third book in the Bairns of Bren series. Just go to Amazon, put in the name of the book, the Puzzle by Dennis Jernigan. Thanks for taking the time to listen.